Hello and welcome back. This is the next video in my series running Confluent Kafka Connect Datagen plugin locally with Docker. In the first video, or the last video, I demonstrated how to install the Confluent Community Platform locally using Docker Compose, and then kick off one of the Datagen Quick Start plugins, the orders template. In this one, we're going to go ahead and stop that connector, the orders quick start template, and then I'll walk through how to specify your own schema for more customized data that you can use the Datagen plugin to write to Kafka that might be more meaningful for your particular project or use case or whatever you want to experiment with. So, first things first, let's delete the old or the previously running orders template. So remember, that's running locally on localhost port 8083, which is the standard port for Confluent Kafka Connect. And let's look at connectors. And so we have our Datagen connector there. And status should be running still. It is still running. So what I want to do is actually delete it. And now it should be gone. So if I list my connectors once again, that orders connector task is no longer running. Alright, so this new section, or this next section in the blog, walks through what exactly I just said. So making your own customized schema for the Datagen plugin so you can have more specific example data for whatever you want to work with or experiment with. And so in my case, I'm going to make a simple, silly little, looks like I'm going to do a movie rating examples for two different, maybe movie theaters, Acme and Globex, and specific, or no, I'm sorry, these are commercial ratings. So think like a commercial in between, the different parts of your favorite video series or whatever. And so two different companies, Acme and Globex, the duration of the commercials, either 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or 60 seconds of type integer, and then a rating from 1 to 5 in that range. And if you're wondering where this comes from, so when you specify your own schema for the Datagen plugin, it has to conform to this specification here. And it's like a mix in between a Avro schema and then some additional fields that show the data types. Well, I guess Avro shows data types, but the way in which your data should be generated. So we saw range. You can specify a length for like the number of things within an array or something like that. So have a look through these. There are a lot of different options for generating random data, that use regex, pattern matching. Like I said, we talked about length if we want like an array of things. But in our example, we're just going to use a string field and then a couple event fields with either predefined options. So these are the only 3 values that we can have in that field ever, or a randomly generated value selected between range. So again, you follow the same pattern basically, is you create a JSON file to handle your config. And so I'm going to go ahead and create a new file called Datagen commercials and then JSON, well, let's call it config, and then .json. and then I'll copy what I have here already and paste it in. And as you can see, it follows the same type of format with a couple of small deviations. We still have to name our Datagen instance. It's still using the same Datagen connector class. It's now called commercials JSON, and because I'm going to produce the value in JSON, and then the key is going to be the brand field within here. So we scroll back up here. This was the first field that was defined. We're saying that is the message key, and I want to string serialize it, and then I want the payload, so the body, to be JSON once again, and I want it to generate a value every 1 second or 1,000 milliseconds and do up to 1,000 total. So then the last piece that's significantly different is you now specify a schema field rather than using the quick start field. And the schema field is just this schema definition here on the left, but collapsed down into a compact form, and then, since it's within and closing quotes, all the inner quotes need to be escaped. And so that is how to create or how to specify the configuration for your custom mapped data to be generated. All right, so HTTP, we now need to post this to our Kafka Connect instance running locally here on localhost 8083, and then that goes to the connectors endpoint, and I specify this file that we just created as the JSON payload, and if I didn't mistype anything, this should work. And man, I cannot spell connectors right, so connectors, and you can see this came back with a successful status code of 201 created. And now if I query the connectors, so p localhost 8083 connectors, we now see my Datagen commercials instance is running, or at least is showing up as being submitted to it. We can type in the name of it, Datagen commercials JSON, and do a status, and it is up and running. And then we can use our same statement from before or we can use the Kafka console producer once again, just to prove that data is in fact flowing through. And so let's do what is it called as the topic? It's probably over here. All right, so commercials.json. And there's our commercials now being created. So we got Globex and Acme companies running commercials for various durations and some random ratings that we put in there. All right, so that's how to install and run Confluent locally with a Docker Compose setup using one of the templates that they give you, that Confluent gives you as far as a Docker Compose file. How to use one of their quick start pre-canned template schemas for the Kafka Connect Datagen connector, as well as how to create your own, as we did right here. There's other parts of this blog post that cover other aspects of using both of these tools, so not just Docker and the Kafka Connect Datagen connector, but also Confluent Schema Registry. So if you're interested in learning more, there's a link to the full blog post at the bottom of this video. And I hope you enjoyed this quick presentation on how to run the Datagen Kafka connector locally using Docker. Thanks, and stay tuned for more content. Bye.